I had to tell you a little bit about our next speaker. Last night I slugged him in the arm because I thought he was somebody else, so we've gotten off to a really good start. But he's so delightful, and he shared with me his book, Change Your Day, Not Your Life, and he's a thought leader, and I'm telling you that this book, when he gave it to me, it changed my thought about him, and I've had a lot of them. You'll see when he gets up here what I'm talking about. He's a great guy. But anyway, so Andy Corr is his name. He is a credentialed, award-winning thought leader on increasing employee engagement, productivity, and wellness motivation. Corr has a master's degree in human performance and has spent the past 22 years researching ways to become better equipped to thrive in today's hectic society. Bottom line is, he helps organizations build teams that cost less, have better attitudes, and accomplish more. So you're going to like this guy. Please help me welcome Andy Corr. Hey, before I go, this book, it just got rated 5 stars by Success Magazine. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
See, I remember. There we go.
Are you ready for this? Yeah. Yes, that's good. All right. I want you to picture this scene. A conference much like this. I finished. 4 people lined up to ask questions. I answered the 4th person's question. They turned to leave. I turned to grab my things. I turn around, and a woman is standing right there. She'd apparently been waiting for me to leave, or for the other people to leave so she could ask a question. And I said, "Yes, ma'am, can I help you?" She goes, "You can. Sit down." I was like, okay. So I sat down, and then she goes, "Andy, I have no balance in my life, and it's starting to show." You see, her name was Janet, and Janet had been recently given more responsibilities. Her organization had been setting big goals. In her organization, they called it BHAGs. Have you ever heard of that? B-H-A-G, big, hairy, audacious goals. Basically, that translates into goals that we don't know how we're going to make, but I want you to make them. And so she's one of the go-to people. She took this upon herself. She ended up working more than she typically did. And now, 6 months later, she'd gained 22 pounds. 6 months later, her family, who had once been pretty positive about mom's job, was becoming less so. 6 months later, she felt like her hair was thinning, her nails were brittle. She felt like she was more tired than she felt like she should be. She felt like she was more stressed or cranky than she felt like she should be. And she kept wondering why some mornings she'd wake up and go, "Man, why don't I want to do this?" Have you ever asked that question? Why don't I want to do what I know I should, that I want to accomplish? I think we all have. And I think even the more successful people get, the more they ask that question, the more heavy that question can be for them. It's a question that I spend a lot of focus trying to help people answer. And so I said, "Janet, listen, I hear those symptoms all across the country and in Asia and Europe, all over. I think it's a human condition when you take a responsible adult and put them into a high-performance environment, a high-demand environment. If you're a responsible person who really cares, you're going to start to eventually adapt these daily patterns that are out of the best interest. You want to accomplish more, but these patterns oftentimes sabotage your ability to accomplish those goals." I call it the more with less paradox. It's that we try, but we end up sabotaging our ability. And I'll tell you a little bit about that in specifics here in just a second. But I said, "Janet, you were in my presentation. You know what my suggestions are." And she goes, "Andy, I will do those on one condition. If you'll tell me when it's going to work." And I said, "Well, Janet, I'm a stress researcher by background. As a research guy, I know there's no way I can predict exactly when. There's too many variables involved: genetics, environment, personal history." And she goes, No, I'm not going to do it unless you tell me when." I realized she was kind of managing me like a vendor. So I said, "Janet, I promise you will reach your goals by June 31st. There's only 30 days in June, people. Now, do you think I was telling her that she's not going to reach her goals? I was telling her how to reach her goals, how we can thrive in this high-demand world, how you can make consistent improvement in a super tight schedule. Yeah. So I said, "Okay, Janet, if you'll give it a shot, but what I really want to know from you is I want you to tell me a little bit about your day." So I'll tell you a little bit, and if there are any similarities, I think you'll get a lot from these ideas. First thing in the morning. Oh, It was just 5 minutes. I brushed my teeth yesterday. Okay, 5 more minutes. Peel yourself off the sheets, feet hit the floor, but now you're 15 minutes behind schedule. What are your chances of stopping, preparing, and eating a healthy, high-energy breakfast? Yeah, thank you for the interaction. Everybody else, what's up? Let's go. All right. Don't be a baby. Let's do this. Come on. All right, so at that point, when it's rush, it's go, it's stress in the morning, what are your chances of meditating or praying or getting yourself mentally centered for the day? There's a lady back there going, not going to happen at all in my life. Well, that's the way we all can be. Rush, go. What about your chances of exercising or even being a calm and encouraging leader for your family? You don't have to admit it. We've all been there. It's rush, rush, go, go. And I'll tell you right now, even though I'm an expert in human performance and productivity and motivation, about every 6 months or so, I become the person who I aspire to help. Why does the train get off the tracks and in 2 or 3 days you feel like you've lost all your motivation, your momentum, and then how can you put things back and in 2 or 3 days feel like, well, of course I'm doing this? Or how was I ever able to do that? What are the underlying causes that causes our energy and our productivity and our motivation to fluctuate so much? That's what I focus on. Okay. So Janet's rush, rush, rush in the morning, go, 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 until he squeals into the parking lot at work, spraying gravel, caffeine in hand. The caffeine goes down. She becomes a productivity machine. I mean, emails done, to do, check, 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 call, 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 until about 9:15. At 9:15, she starts getting a little antsy, a little fuzzy, I know what it is. I'm hungry. So she gets up and does what I call cubicle trick-or-treating. Oh, Sarah, that report. Oh, chocolate today. Or you land in a break room where there's what? Donuts. I thought this would be a much more sophisticated crowd than that. Right? I'm from Arkansas and we do donuts, people, but you might do muffins. You've looked at the ingredients of a muffin, right? It's called cake, people. After a little cake for breakfast, that's when you feel really pumped, excited, productive, focused, right? Well, actually, yeah. For like 7 minutes. And then you're like, what is wrong with me? All right, so this is an important thing because in the world of human performance and productivity research, we know 9 to 11 a.m. are the 2 most productive hours of your day. That's when you're going to be most productive, present. What's the word? Creative, focused. Yeah? So 9 to 11 a.m., 2 most productive hours. You just interrupted that. This is one of those patterns that sabotages us. Okay. So then Janet comes back to her workstation. She has to push herself to get herself going again. It's a high energy cost, but she does. And then about 10:15, 10:30, she starts getting a little momentum going again. And it's 10:15, 10:30. Okay, I'm starting to come back. 11 o'clock. What do you start thinking about? You just ate all that stuff. Lunch, you land at lunch, you open the menu. Right there on the left side of the menu is the guiltless chicken breast salad with a side of tofu. Oh, yes. And you know that's the healthier, more high energy choice. But what's on the other side of the menu? The burger or the dessert right? Okay, now here's the deal. If I couldn't splurge on a burger every now and then, my brother is a professional brewer. I am what you call quality control. So you got to have fun, but here's the deal. You got to do it in the right context. You open up the menu, your mind starts running, and you start thinking, you know what? I've had a bad day. I've had a bad week. I'm going to do the cheeseburger. After you do the cheeseburger on your way back to work, you start to hear this whistling sound. Then that's when you feel motivated, psyched, pumped, right after lunch, right? Oh, you're like, mommy. Okay, so the point is, as I carry this out another 7 or 8 minutes, to help people outline what are the common barriers that we face, what are the patterns that we adopt that are not serving us best, how can we fix those patterns? You see, I was sitting there with Janet, and I said, Janet, listen, I know you're trying to improve, but the way that you're living is making it so much harder to do what you want to accomplish. And then every author has a story about when they came up with the title of their book. And for me, this is my story. Janet is my story. And I said, Janet, listen, you don't have to change your life. Just change your day. Change your day, not your life. That's the title of my book. That's what I believe. That is what I think is the solution to this more with less dilemma that we all face. How do we help people find productive ways to better manage themselves so that they can be a better version of themselves? Be more energetic, be more productive, be more present, persuasive, all those P words. That's what we want. So how do you do that? See, that's what my focus is. I'm going to give you a quick tip, right? One way to change your day immediately. Have you ever been in a situation to where someone starts walking towards you, your direction, and you see them and you think, oh no, because you know they're not coming to you to talk about how amazing of a job you're doing. Yeah? Well, see, here's the situation when that happens. When you do that, your mind sees that and says threat. That's what everyone's mind does. They see threat when that happens. Or when your company sets a BHAG, big, hairy, audacious goal, you see threat. It's easy to take that approach. That's what I call the amateur approach. But even if you're an amateur or what I would call a professional or someone who thrives in the high demand workforce or a job or role or a life, is that everybody's going to see something, a big goal or a stressful situation and think threat. And as soon as you think threat, that signals your body to become aroused. And that's not really a negative arousal or a positive arousal. That's just a starting point. Everyone gets it. It's a positive, productive, and natural thing to happen. But what happens next, though, is when you reappraise that situation. It's your second thought that counts in a high-stress situation. Your first thought is going to be threat. Your second thought, though, is going to determine how your body and mind react. For instance, if you think threat, this is going to be bad, then what happens is the blood flow to your heart, the blood flow from your heart starts to decrease. The blood flow to your brain starts to decrease. That pulls the blood in from your arms and your legs. It's just your body preparing for failure or defeat or injury. But see, if you learn this tool of taking your thought from threat to challenge, it cues your body to go into a different state. Not even the normal, natural state, but a heightened state where the blood flow from your heart starts to increase. It goes through your peripheral vascular system into your brain. Your peripheral vision clears. Your mind starts to see solutions versus seeing shutting down. And so, to take one tool away from my talk today, I want you to think about, under stress, am I thinking threat or am I thinking challenge? And to go from threat to challenge is a great mental tool that you now have in your pocket that you can take out and use. I'm telling you, it is one of the most helpful tools that I've used to help achieve big goals, to help deal with stressful situations, and it changes your state, it changes your day, and I think it changes your momentum to be positive. And it was one of the tools I gave Janet. I came back to that company 2 years later. I was doing a presentation, 4 people lined up to ask questions. The first person questioned, the second person just stood there and gave me a strange look. And I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, do you know what date it is? I said, yeah, it's like March 31st. She goes, wrong, it's June 31st. It was Janet. I didn't recognize Janet because in those 2 years she had lost 78 pounds. She had taken control of her schedule. She had taken control of the way her team interacts with her personal strategies. And she said, all this happened, Andy, because I changed my day. And so I hope that in the future, if I can help you or your organizations, call me up. I would love to help. And Angela, thanks for having me. Thanks for being here, everybody. And I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.